My name is Azariah Reese, and I'm a first-year master's student studying viola performance at Texas State University. And I had the distinct pleasure of photographing and being the event coordinator for the 14th Annual International Piano Festival this past summer. Before this summer, I really hadn't had a clear idea of what the festival was. I really only knew it from pictures on a wall. In fact, a picture on a wall next to my teacher's door. But this past semester, before the summer, Dr. Kwok introduced me to the festival, and he was generous enough to invite me along and to document the goings-on of the festival, and I could not have been more excited. It was really exciting to go in there and to see what all the buzz was about. This video is really going to be a just short walk through the festival, but through my perspective. And Dr. Kwok actually invited me to give my honest opinion, my honest thoughts of my initial impressions, with this being my first festival ever, which was, for one thing, I'll talk about later, it was a very, very cool thing to experience. And I'm excited to share my thoughts with you, and also to share some pictures, maybe a few, maybe a dozen, maybe a little more than a dozen, about what I saw during the event and maybe what was the most special to me. So to start off, I was the most surprised with how familiar all the students were already with basically everybody. When the students first came into the Performing Arts Center lobby for the inaugural reception, it was oddly familiar. I expected kind of like you might see, like, I don't know, like a region audition room where people come from all different schools and not everyone really knows each other, but some people might know each other. People were coming in from different countries and states, I think, and it was just like they were just, I don't know, they went to the same school and they knew each other for forever. And I think in a sense they did. There's so many return students that came back to the festival that just continue to return year after year, which is really nice. And that just solidifies a really interesting sort of friendship and familial atmosphere that was immediately present during just the first hour or so that the students were together. That was immediately apparent. On the same day that the students first came in for the inaugural reception, for their welcome, there was the inaugural recital given by Professor Meng-Young Pan, and that was, in my opinion, I think it set the tone for the rest of the week. Of course, I wouldn't know what the tone is usually, but it's fun. This is fun to imagine. Her concert was just filled with so much passion and refinement and deep-seated, well-practiced intention with the performance. And she was among people I know she's never met before. I think this is one of her first years, if not the first year that she's been a part of the festival. And I just can't imagine the wonder that the students must have been in, the awe of the rest of the audience, just be in the room with her and hear her wonderful performance. I'm certain she was happy to give it, but I sense that just hearing that performance raised the bar that much higher for the possibility of the student's achievement. And I think that was immediately apparent from the very beginning, that when she walked on stage, from the moment she stood up, and it only just continued to propel forward throughout the week. What was interesting to me about the master classes was that the teachers seemed to be just as energized by the students as the students were energized by the teachers. Of course, you might, this is understandable, this even happens to me, you might get nervous before master class when you're going to play something in front of a group of your peers who are just as talented, just as highly achieved as you are, and a world-renowned musician that's coming to impart knowledge. I'm sure that would make anyone nervous. It would certainly make me nervous. But the level of preparation seemed to me to surpass any sort of performance hindrance. It was really interesting. The students I saw performing on stage and that were growing from the master classes seemed to just play so naturally, and at such a high level too. This is going to sound redundant, but one of the things that stuck the most out to me was the surprisingly high mastery of the students. One thing I didn't consider, although maybe I should have, when you think about an international festival, you were dealing with applicants from literally around the world, and that leaves you with a very select group of people. And all these people just come into this building and learn and feed off of each other's energy and take each other to the next level. And that was surprising to me. And that only continued to just after a while became a little complacent. After you've heard maybe about 10 or 15 fantastic pianists, you start to create a sort of baseline standard that's kind of just going to be what normal is, and you have to just go from there. But in retrospect, that's not something you see on a day-to-day basis. During the actual performances that were given in conjunction with the competition, so these performances were judged accordingly, and so if I remember correctly, the students had a 30-minute program. Of course, it was memorized, and if that's not surprising to you, then you might already be a pianist. If it is surprising, then you might not be, like me. Also, what was interesting to me was just how personable all the faculty were between each other. It was, for an international group of people, from world-class pianists from literally across the world, it was surprising how tightly knit they were. I didn't see that coming initially, and I also didn't expect them to be so personable as well. I got to, just as a part of my duties as event coordinator for the festival, in which case I would go and sort of moderate, in a sense, the masterclass. And just for example, make sure the stage is correctly lit and the pianos are arranged correctly and that they're set up with microphones so that the people on the live stream, the people in the hall can hear them well when talking to the students. Just interacting with them made me forget how in awe I really should have been. Maybe a little bit more starstruck, maybe just a little bit. One of the most satisfying things for me as the outside viewer to see of the festival was the last day of the entire festival, when the students got to rehearse of course, and perform with the Central Texas Philharmonic under the baton of Dr. Jacob Harrison. And that was incredible for a number of reasons. One of the most inspiring points for me, one of the most interesting pictures that was painted, no pun and poor pun intended, was the interaction during the actual rehearsals with the Central Texas Philharmonic. It was interesting to me to see the students interact with an orchestra, with their piece. They're playing with an orchestra under the direction of a high-level conductor, a high-level musician like Dr. Harrison, and with just the same level of support and mentorship from Dr. Quag from the sidelines. I shouldn't say from the sidelines, but from the sidelines, from the audience, giving suggestions and critiques and things that might work better with the piece. It was curious to see that sort of music making, that sort of collaboration with the young artists, professional musicians, and then take that on stage in front of very, very high-level officials within the University of Texas State University, for one, although I'm sure that there are other officials and other patrons and sponsors from other organizations that support the International Piano Festival, in addition to the friends, their colleagues, families, the professors in the audience. And all this is coming together on the final night of the festival in this one huge bang of flashy pieces, fast, furiously fast notes. And it was just a sight to see. What wasn't seen, however, was the things that were going on actually, literally, backstage. I was in the wings during the performance. Unfortunately, I couldn't see from the audience perspective what the pianists looked like. I only got the chance to see the rehearsals. However, it was an unusual perspective to see the guidance and the process of the students backstage before their performance and after they come off the stage. There was a whole range of emotions, and I think that's fair to say, and with the gravity, the concert thing, this is it's a culminating point during the week, and likewise, I think in their lives. It's very, very rare to get to perform solo with an orchestra in general, and the fact that the students have this opportunity and that they took it upon themselves to rise to the occasion of performing well enough, being that prepared to perform with the orchestra is staggering. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with something as gigantic as the International Piano Festival, talking about it just invites details to be left unfinished, and there's so many things that I left unsaid in the making of this video, but the biggest takeaways I think. If we're thinking about the festival, honestly, through my impression, I couldn't be more surprised, honored to be in the presence of, inspired to be something a little bit bigger than myself. To take more risks in becoming a better musician, to be inspired by more people that are not my instrument, and to bring it home, I'm just really inspired by the level of camaraderie and familiarity. That level of closeness isn't seen in all areas of the music world, of the world in general, and I think what the Piano Festival has created, has cultivated over these so many years of being in force in a community and across the world is the creation of a family that transcends cultural and international boundaries. I'm really excited to see where it goes next, where it's going to be in the next, 5, 10 years, maybe even the next year. What things can change, what things grow, how the people change and grow. I really do feel lucky to have just been a part of the festival, and I'm looking forward to next time. Thank you.